G'day Sonic Squad! Is Sonic Racing CrossWorlds hard? That's something I haven't really thought about until now recently, because when it comes to the racing games, everyone immediately thinks of the Mario Kart series and how that's, a casual friendly game that anyone can pick up, and whenever a competitor tries to compete against it, they tend to fall flat on their face, let's be honest. But there has been a rare occurrence where some other competitor has competed against Mario Kart, and that is Crash Team Racing Nitro-Fueled, where they rely on mainly skill with a tiny bit of luck, but mainly skill on making it a fun, competitive racing experience. And with Sonic Racing CrossWorlds competing pretty well against Mario Kart World, especially with reviews and that, and how Mario Kart World has been disappointing, to say the least, to some of the people that I've talked to, I thought it would be a great discussion. But forget about that. Why are we talking that? Why is this a thing I'm doing right now? Well, it's all thanks to Mr. Lag on Twitter, which you should also follow and subscribe to him because he is a great content creator. Anyway, he made a post where he reacted to Watch Mojo doing a video on the hardest Sonic Racing CrossWorld tracks. And he had opinions on it, and the fact that they put hard in the title makes me really think that, is it actually hard? Are the tracks actually hard, or am I just that good at the game? So I thought, you know what, let's react to this video. Let's see what they've got, and then let's see if they're right or wrong, and we'll have my opinions on it as well. So yeah, I thought let's do a reaction video to it, just to see what they think, and then we'll do my, like a tier list, I reckon. We'll probably do a tier list as well, where what I think are the hardest tracks, and then easy tracks, and see what not. Because yeah, I think it's an interesting discussion, because like I said at the beginning of the video, the fact that they call it hard never really appeared into my mind until now, recently. So I think it will be interesting. We'll see.
Welcome to Mojo Plays, and today we're taking a look at the 10 toughest courses featured in Sonic Racing CrossWorlds.
Okay. Yeah, very interesting to see what they have to say.
Before we begin, we publish new videos all week long, so be sure to subscribe to Mojo Plays and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.
And you should also subscribe to SuperSaiyanSonic for more content in the future.
Water Palace.
Interesting, Water Palace. Okay. Not that hard, actually, to be honest.
Though it's one of the first courses you'll race in the game, it's hard because this is the first course that introduces water-based mechanics. Sounds absurd to call a course hard over, right? We'd agree with you, but the boat portions of CrossWorlds do not play like what we saw in, say, Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed.
I do have to say the boat section's probably... I've seen people talk about how it's probably weak against All-Stars Transform, which I see both sides of the coin, so yeah, maybe. I guess it's also, you gotta get used to it. That's definitely the thing. You probably have to get used to the thing, especially when drifting. It's a little bit different, and which is a good different, but it's something that I think people just need to just get used to, and I guess take advantage of some of the mechanics that you can do with the drifting.
If you want to nail those turns, you're going to have to get a grasp on how drifting works during this segment.
Okay,
Water Palace is the easiest of the courses that sport these segments, but even so, you're going to struggle a bit when playing this course for the first time ever. Trust me, there is a bit of a learning curve to this. I still haven't nailed it quite yet.
It's mainly just the final corner, pretty much, because I think the rest of it is pretty straightforward. I mean, honestly, I could kind of agree a little bit. Like, it's just timing about and when you're going to start drifting. Also, I mean, once you get used to it, it's become pretty easy. I wouldn't say it's one of the hardest. It's just the final corner of the boat section that you just have to get, I guess, good at, skill issue. I guess the only thing you can really do is just, I guess it's also, you kind of have to teach yourself, if you don't want to hit the walls, especially when you're drifting, just let go of the acceleration, because that will dramatically help you doing those tight corners. I know you also got the gadgets. If you play with the right gadgets to help drifting, that can help, but I wouldn't say this is the hardest, one of the hardest tracks, because it's just the last corner drifting. I can see how first time players is a bit daunting, trying to not get through that corner without, keep crashing to the walls all the time, but once you get used to it, it's not that hard, to be honest.
Colorful Mall.
Colorful Mall is difficult? Okay, well, let's see.
For the most part, Colorful Mall is a super fun track to race on. The many
Agree.
branching paths leave quite a bit of room for players to create their own path to the finish line.
Yep.
And yeah, if you find a way to chain your drift boosts with boost pads and boost rings, you can almost speed through the entire course just on those.
Yep.
However, those branching paths can work against you if you're still falling behind, even if you're just in second or third. Should your rivals choose different paths than you, you're forced to either hoard your items or use them on whoever just so happens to be on the same path as you. Considering you have 3 different roads placed towards the end of the track, this can end up costing you the race, assuming you don't play it smart.
I wouldn't say that's a hard track. I mean, it's got lots of branching ways, which is, I think, a really good track because of that. I guess this track is like you really gotta manage your items well without, instead of just like as soon as you get it, use it immediately. You gotta like kind of like be strategic about it. I mean, I don't have any complaints about Colorful Mall. I think it's one of the, you know, colorful stages. I don't really have much to say about this one because, yeah, there's lots of pathways. I guess it's more kind of like you just gotta play it multiple times and take different paths and see which one suits the best for you. Especially if you're doing online competitive racing. So, I'm gonna have to disagree on this one. I don't think it's that hard. It's just, I think this is more about managing your skill, your items pretty much to take advantage and make sure you don't fall behind too much in that. But yeah, I think the stage track I should say, really fun, decent track. I wouldn't say it's hard.
Aqua Forest. Not to jump into the later tracks too early in this list, but Aqua Forest was one of the first tracks that came to mind when we were putting this whole thing together.
Okay. We'll see what they have to say.
You can end up getting stuck in crowds way too easily given how narrow the track is overall, which means a simple bump can either push you off-road and slow you down, or send you falling off the edge and setting you back.
Okay, yeah, I can admit, I think the knockback in this stage is insane. it can. I think it's happened to me a few times, especially when you do the online when you're in the higher ranks, when you try to take that first shortcut. Well, I don't want to say the first shortcut, the right path where you got to bounce onto the tree branch and like the leaves and that. If you get knocked off, you're like immediately straight back to 12, and trying to catch up is pretty hard on this one, especially mainly because of you're bumping into each other and then somehow one knocks you back really hard and the others don't. It's a bit inconsistent, but I can see that being a more annoying, especially in online. I mean, if you're doing against regular CPUs, that's not too much of a problem, but I want to say about 6 out of 10 times every time I do this race online, most likely I'm trying to take that pathway and I get knocked off by an opponent and I'm like straight to 12 because I've fallen off the edge of the track. So that can play a part of it, but I feel like that's situational.
Just 1 or 2 of those instances can cost you the entire race. But the most aggravating part for some folks is going to be the water-based portion of this race. By now, you should have gotten a handle on the drifting mechanics for these sections. The problem is that the structure of the track makes turning even more difficult and can cause you to smear your cart along the wall until the course straightens out.
You just crash into the wall on purpose, so you're not really doing a good sample for yourself. Again, it's the water drifting. I probably can tell what the rest of the video is going to be about. It's mainly going to be complaining about the water drifting sections. Here, like they said, you should be experienced with what you need to do. There is a lot of shortcuts you can take on the water section, so it kind of negates how much drifting you have to actually do. I mean, the big drift corner, I think that one's really satisfying to pull off when you don't hit in the walls when you're drifting. So I don't think that's still a proper problem. That still might be a skill issue that you need to get good at, pretty much.
Try not to let this track filter you out, though. Once you get the hang of it, Aqua Forest isn't so bad as the other courses that we're about to get to.
Okay.
Coral Town.
Let me guess, it's because there's lots of turning and drifting.
It'd be nice to be able to race through Coral Town and really take in the scenery every now and again. Unfortunately, this track has the same gimmick as Colorful Mall, in which the course branches off into different paths. But it becomes more harrowing to deal with here. Whereas Colorful Mall allows you to drop down to the bottom path towards the end, Coral Town keeps its branching paths much more isolated and presents another fork on both paths after the first fork. The entire competition briefly winds up racing on 4 different roads with very little room to hinder each other until they all converge midway through. Our advice? Try to take the same path as whoever is in first or whichever path seems the least crowded.
Okay, I never really thought about this because, honestly, I haven't really experimented with the other forks in the road. I tend to mainly go on the first fork, just go on the right side and then just follow that pathway. That's pretty much my go-to. Now, I don't know if that's the fastest. I think it might be. I'm not 100% sure. Like I said, I haven't really experimented with Coral Town and its different, pathways you can take. It sounds like I don't want to say they're complaining about having different pathways because, let's be honest, we all want multiple pathways. It makes the track unique, and Coral Town is a beautiful, nice location, and the track design is great because there's lots of twists and turns, which probably does lead into the harder side because you gotta master your drifting. I think that's the whole point of CrossWorlds is you really gotta master your drifting and turning to be great at this game pretty much. I wouldn't say it makes the game hard. It's just something. It's more like it's not. How do I say? It's not like the game is. I don't want to say the game is it's easy to pick up but harder to master. I don't think that's the case here. It's mainly just again, I feel like I'm gonna be a broken record saying this. It's just lots of turns and drifting. You just gotta get good at it. You need to really practice that. I guess it also depends on which character you're using and what kind of type of car and character you're using. If you're using speed, boost, acceleration, handling, power. I guess it really depends. You got it's more you gotta experiment and then test at the tracks and see what works best for you. Going back to if Coral Town is a hard track, I wouldn't say it is. I mean, again, I only take the one path, but if you're doing multiple paths, maybe if somehow they made you force you had to take different paths on the different laps, maybe it might be a bit challenging, but I wouldn't say this is hard necessarily. Yes, there's lots of drifting, especially with deep corners that they showed here. Maybe that might play into it, but I wouldn't say it's hard per se. Maybe a little bit. I don't know. Maybe not challenge. I don't know. That's something I have to really think about. This one's gonna really think about this one.
Mystic Jungle.
Yeah. Okay. No, I can admit I struggled this at the first. Let's see what they have to say about this.
Promise to do our best and play nice.
Considering this is the first course of the third cup, there isn't much reason to expect Mystic Jungle to be too challenging, and yet it found a way. First off, it's pretty easy to fall off of the course at the start if you're taking the right side of the track.
Yeah, I can admit to that. Yeah, this is definitely one of the harder to at least start off because you can fall off. I guess it also counts the knockback by especially if you're doing online racing, where if you get knocked back by a CPU or even the AI, not AI, the actual person. Most likely you will knock off the stage and it takes you right back to where you kind of fell off, which is one of the nitpicks I have with CrossWorlds is if you do fall off, it takes you back quite back, and then it's a slow start for you to catch up unless you have the boost gadget where if you fall off and you can get a boost instantly. But if you don't have that and you get knocked off, it's really hard to catch up because it takes you back so far. I don't know why. That's one of the things. I kind of wish it doesn't take you back so far. Maybe it can also I wouldn't mind if it's it pushes you a little bit, but then but then it pushes you forward. Then it's a slow start for you. Then that can be a good compromise to make it a bit more fair. But yeah, definitely you can fall off this track really easy, which I will. Yeah, definitely that does add up to the giving this the hard treatment, I guess, for the name of the track.
But the biggest headache you'll have to deal with is the rapid river that comes midway through. Handling-based builds will do just fine here, but every other build in the game is going to struggle as it is very easy to fall off or hit a wall because of a poorly timed jump, or the AI was bumping into you too much.
Yeah, definitely those on the rivers, like the water slide sections, I should call it, pretty much. Yeah, you will bump into the walls 9 out of 10 times, pretty much. I mean, yeah, the handling will have, like I said, they're designed to take sharp, easy turns, so they're fine. The other types, unless you play around with it, you can get pretty good. Like, I mean, especially if you're using the extreme gear and you're the boost types, I think they work pretty well if you like time where to start drifting and turning. I guess that's also part of it. Like, you gotta like, again, just replay it and then just experiment with when to turn it right now, and then pray that you don't get bumped by the AI or the online player to mess up your pretty much race. Because if you do fall like more than once, it's pretty much game over for you. You're not gonna get in at least the top 3 spot unless you get really lucky with what items you get.
Section alone is going to make you either love or hate Mystic Jungle. For me, definitely hate Mystic Jungle.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people don't like this track. I personally like this. I think you'll like it more once you understand how it goes, because it is definitely one of the, I guess, I want to say challenging to like not fall off, pretty much. But no, I do like Mystic Jungle. I think this is one of the better tracks of the game.
White Space.
White Space? Really? Go.
It is really cool that we got a track based on the recent remaster of Sonic Generations. This is an entire course dedicated to the remaster's portion of the game that was dedicated to Shadow. Though cool in visuals, it does feature a few sections that might annoy you. There are a couple of sections where gun robots are shooting at the track, and the hitboxes for those projectiles are fairly big.
But they're easily avoidable. I never got hit them once. Is it just me, or am I just that good and never got hit by one? Has anyone actually gotten hit by these? Because they're pretty easy to avoid. Maybe because you're in the air, maybe you just don't like the air. The plane physics, maybe drifting. Maybe you might be struggling, maybe, but I never got hit by them. Not even once. They're easy to avoid, so that shouldn't make the track hard.
There are also a couple of portions where the track is covered in purple goop, one of those sections being water-based, where it's a bit harder to see which areas are covered. White Space is likely going to test your...
The purple goop? I don't know, they're pretty easy to avoid, personally. Maybe if you haven't got good handling, maybe you might easily run into them, but I avoid them pretty easily. Especially, the only times I go for it is the ramp where you get the rings at the top, if you have the boost power up. That's like the only times you really be using it, because they do slow you down, so you have to take advantage of that. So, White Space isn't hard if it's because of that. The water drifting, there's only like, what, 2-3 corners that you have to drift, and the rest is pretty simple. I don't think, White Space is not that hard. I think that it's more of a skill issue for them.
Patience, and it certainly tested mine. Still a cool course though, not gonna lie.
Okay, they do like it. It's just parts of it, they're like, okay. Ooh,
Radical Highway. Radical Highway is such a classic Sonic location that it's really hard to dunk on this too much.
Even though it keeps coming back now, so it's the next Green Hill Chemical Plant and Sky Sanctuary, but for Shadow. Also, nice warehouse gameplay. We love to see that.
Once you remove the feelings of nostalgia, the course can be really challenging, as there are 3 brief sections where paths diverge. Not only that, but there is so much happening in every one of these sections that it's hard to get a hit on anybody, let alone keep track of where everyone is. Your best bet is to just focus on boosting and try not to worry about always picking up capsules. Just hold on to what you have until the next set of capsules can give you an item. Kraken.
Okay. Radical Highway is a fun track. It's really fun. I think it's visually probably one of my favorites of how it looks. Like, it's, if we were to give like a SA2, remaster or remake, that's how I want Radical Highway to look. Pretty much. That's like the perfect visualization of the stage. Regarding of it hard, no, nah. I have to disagree with that one. That's Radical Highway is a fun track. I guess it really depends on how well you are ahead or tracking behind, I guess, especially online, because online can be pretty hectic. I mean, it's not like it's cramped. There's lots of moments where you're actually spread out, so you're not bumping into each other all the time. There are narrow paths, but that's like mainly for the loop-de-loops, pretty much. And then like the bridge section where there's like multiple speed pads that you can go on. I can't really think of a reason why I would think it would be hard, apart from maybe items. But then again, that's more like you just gotta like learn when to use your items correctly for defensive and offensive times, pretty much. I'm gonna have to say a no to Watch Mojo with their thing for Radical Highway. I have to disagree about that. But alright, Kraken Bay, what do they have to say about this one? Okay. I don't think this is hard. Maybe.
We were trying to refrain from putting the CrossWorld tracks on here since they only last a single lap. However, we can't help but stare at Kraken Bay with daggered eyes when talking about difficult courses.
Really?
Holy giant squid tentacles, Batman! There are Kraken arms all over the damn place. Appropriate for the course's name, yes, but there are so many spots where you can get smashed by an arm. You have to be able to steer to another part of the course at a moment's notice, which is easier said than done when there aren't also barrels being tossed around like frickin' candy. Good luck getting A rank on the time trials for this one. I can't seem to get it down.
Again, I feel like they're easily avoidable. I mean, maybe the tentacles, yeah, because you gotta like time it when they're gonna come down, and if you like be able to avoid or not. Maybe the tentacles, I can see them being the reason why you would give this the hard treatment. But for the barrels, they're pretty avoidable. And then there's like different pathways. You can go like left or right, or left, right, whatever you want to say. But especially the tentacles, when you like near the end of the track, they're pretty easy to avoid. Because like again, you're flying pretty much, which gives you a lot of like airspace, if that's the right term for it. Like a fun CrossWorld track, pretty much. But I wouldn't say it's hard. Like, apart from the tentacles, avoiding them, maybe I can see why, but the rest of it, I find that pretty easy to avoid. Again, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just that cracked at racing games, especially Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. Maybe.
Donpa Factory.
If it isn't my favorite second place getter.
Yeah, Donpa Factory, I can see. Well, let's see what they have to
Of the
say.
later tracks, we had way more trouble with Donpa Factory than we did with Eggman Expo or North Star Islands. The reason for this is because Donpa Factory is a very drift-heavy course with a lot of tight turns.
Yes.
Obviously, those with moderate stats and handling may not struggle as much. Power drivers can easily ignore the annoying obstacles from the assembly line, but if you're a speed, acceleration, or boost class build, you're more than likely going to hit many walls throughout this race, unless you've really optimized your gear loadout.
You may be fast,
Okay.
but you lack the skill.
Yeah, Donpa Factory is definitely one of the harder tracks when it comes to like, you know, turning, because there are a lot of turns you gotta do in that track. Like, it's mainly like if you're going straight and then you gotta do like another turn. It's kind of like it alternates between going in a straight path and then turning, especially when you're trying to get the shortcuts. You have to like really understand the track design and like trying to plan ahead of like the position you need to be in order to take the shortcuts. Unless you don't have like the boost item to go across like the grassy areas that slows you down and stuff. And of course avoiding the cars, like when you go that big turn in not the center, I guess the center, but you know the one where the cars come around, you gotta avoid them because they have boost pads on them. That one's pretty hard to if you manage to get through that, either with invincibility or a shield, then that's a huge advantage to take. But I see most people not really take that because it is like a really high risk, high reward. Because if you get hit, you're slowing down and then you're pretty much back of the pack. So I can, yeah, Donpa Factory, definitely one of the harder tracks. Not gonna lie, but still fun. I like it.
Blizzard Valley.
Yeah. I think we all know why.
Now, full disclosure, we have no idea how any of the DLC courses are going to turn out. Not to age the video too badly, but we're making this right before Minecraft gets added to the game.
Yeah, Blizzard Village, yeah, I hate this track. I definitely hate this one.
Regardless, we strongly believe that Blizzard Valley is the hardest course in the entirety of Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, and it will likely still be the hardest even after all of the DLC courses get added. The main reason for this is because of the ice physics.
Ice physics,
Trust me, I've been playing this game a lot since it came out. It's an awesome game. But while I've gotten the hang of how to drift on the icy portions of this course, it is still immensely difficult to drift without hitting an obstacle or driving off-road.
Yes.
Failing to turn smoothly can wind up costing you the whole race, as hitting obstacles or going off-road slows you down to such an outrageous degree. This constant battle and overcorrection is what makes Blizzard Valley so frustrating for the first half of the race. The second half, on the other hand,
Yeah, definitely I can agree, this is probably like one of the hardest tracks. And the one that sucks the most, pretty much, because of the ice physics. I'm not saying the ice physics are bad, like, they're pretty good, and then gets you a while to think about, but there was a lot of ice you had to drift on. So yeah, that kind of makes it, if not the hardest track, just to actually stay on the actual track, because you're gonna be, even if you're drifting well, you will get knocked by, you know, the other racers, which will get you off course, and then you just lose all your speed, like, pretty much instantly. So yeah, I can definitely agree that this is definitely probably the hardest track is Blizzard Valley, and I hate it. I hate it a lot because of it. And I'm sure other people do. I mean, I'll be surprised if anyone actually likes it and defends Blizzard Valley as being like a hard track. It'll be really interesting to talk to them if they actually do like it, if there is anyone out there that exists. So yeah. Finish! I guess that's pretty it, yeah. Guessing by the... yeah.
But tell us, what's the toughest track you've played in Sonic Racing CrossWorlds? Let us know down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to Mojo Plays for more great videos every day.
Okay. Definitely some hit or miss choices there, I would have to say. Definitely some hit or misses. Definitely, yeah, Blizzard Valley is definitely the hardest. Definitely one of the hardest if people want to compete against that. Some of the tracks there, yeah, it seemed like more like you just need to understand how to drift. That's what I'm getting, the whole idea. Especially in the water sections, you just need to know when to drift at the right time and take the good turns. Yeah, okay, no, not bad. I have to admit, I generally was a bit surprised. They weren't all crap. I guess, yeah, since we watched them, I guess we're gonna put my opinions onto it. So I'll be right back with a tier list, and we'll continue from there.
12 seconds later.
Alright, so we're back, and we got my tier list pretty much ready. So I did like a, all the tracks. I'm going to be excluding the DLC ones because, well, we have only played the Minecraft one so far, that one's pretty fun, but the rest have yet to come out. So we're going to be, so I did a hard, semi-hard, average, semi-easy, and easy, where I think they're like, in terms of difficulty. So we'll start with E-Stadium. E-Stadium, that's very basic. It's the very first track that you really much race on, especially in the Grand Prix. It's a nice basic introductory level. Like, just easy drifts to do, nothing too crazy about it. It's pretty easy, so that one's pretty self-explanatory. Rainbow Garden, that one's not too bad either. That one's a nice little introductory one. Lots of, not many drift sections there. Just pretty much, the only thing you're going to be struggling to not hit the wall, especially taking that shortcut if you have like a wisp item. So that last corner before the next lap, or the final lap, pretty much. The final turn of the track. That one's pretty hard to, like, if you're trying to take that shortcut, you will most likely hit into the wall because it's a really deep turn. But apart from that, it's pretty much straightforward. So, because of that, probably definitely. But I mean, if you're not taking the shortcut, then it's an easy turn to do. But it's mainly that shortcut. So, I'm gonna put on semi-easy for now. I wouldn't say it's still pretty much in the easy section, but I want to say it because of that last corner, it's semi-easy. And we got Water Palace. Now, seen what Mojo said about it, and then I've kind of talked about why I think it's alright. I don't think it's hard. Pretty much. It's just the last section where you gotta learn how to drift in the water. It is like one of the first introductories of the water drifting. So, I'm gonna put it easy. Definitely... yeah, let's put it under E-Stadium from now. I don't think it's that hard, pretty much. It's just knowing when to drift and, like, getting used to either letting go of the acceleration when you're drifting, or have a good gadget, or practice it, or use a different character or kart to do that. Metal Harbor, great stage. That one's a fun one. Couple few turns, nothing too hectic. Different pathways, you can either fly at the beginning or just go on the road driving. Yeah, just there is some like deep turns and then there's a shortcut at the end. I wouldn't say it's easy or semi-easy. I'm gonna say semi-easy, I reckon. Probably a bit hot. Yeah, I'll put it above Rainbow Garden. Sand Road. I'm actually surprised this wasn't mentioned in the video, because with like Blizzard Valley with the ice physics, Sand Road, it has sand physics, which you don't really see kart racers do that. Well, at least the ones, like the more popular, common ones, because whenever they do sand, they just class it as a normal dirt or like road physics and like normal stuff. But they actually have sand physics where it's very similar to ice physics, where if you're drifting, you will slide more often. Now, you would think, oh, if it's like the ice physics, it'll be hard track, right? Actually, I'm going to put it semi-hard, because yes, there is sand physics. There's a lot of sands, but it alternates between sand and then the normal road. And the turns aren't that bad. There's a few deep turns that you have to do, but they're manageable. It's definitely one of the harder tracks to like steer on it, but I don't think it's the hardest one. It's challenging to like stay on the road, but it's wide enough so you won't be, it's not like so narrow that you're gonna instantly hit off road and that. So that's the reason why I'm putting it on semi-hard, because the sand physics do play a part of it, but it's nothing too hectic. And again, surprised to watch Mojo didn't put that in there, because they talked about the ice physics in Blizzard Valley. You would think they would have done the same, but apparently not. Colorful Mall. Yeah, so this one's not too hard. This one's like has a lot of great pathways to take. I guess just knowing which pathway is the fastest one. I don't even know which is the fastest pathway. I tend to alternate. I mainly go for the top halfway as much as possible. Sometimes, and if I get knocked in the middle one, I go in the middle one. I never really go for the bottom one, because me as the Sonic player always focus on trying to get the top path, because we've been taught the top path is the fastest route to go across, especially in the classic games. So I'm always staying with that mindset. I wouldn't say it's semi-hard. I want to say it's average, because there's lots of little turns in there too. Yeah, I want to say it's an average stage. Nothing too easy, but nothing too hard. Mystic Jungle, yeah, they did class it a bit hard. I'm going to put that a little bit semi-hard, because, like I said, a lot of drifting, especially in the water slide sections where you will be bumping off, and they are narrow too. So, and then because of that narrow, you're most likely going to get bumped off and go off-road and off the track, which then you get respawned back a little bit to stay on track. So I want to say that's semi-hard. Not exactly hard. It's probably just falling short of it. If I had to pick, I would put it higher than Sand Road. Let's do that. Yeah. Mystic Jungle, yeah, definitely harder than Sand Road. Just a bit. But not much. I can see this one being hard because, like I said, the narrow sections, definitely there's a lot of it, especially at the very beginning. And then if you want to take the shortcut, you have to kind of go off-road. But if you have the boost wisp, pretty much, you're pretty much good golden to go through it without ease. But it does make up for, like, giving you a lot of chances to, like, if you have, like, the wisp power up, to go off the grass field and take, you know, little sneaky shortcuts. I wouldn't say it's semi-hard. I want to say probably average above Colorful Mall, definitely. Yeah, no, I'm pretty happy with that so far. Now we got Wonder Museum. Wonder Museum, that's probably one of the easier tracks, honestly. Great soundtrack, by the way. Thanks to Toy Malatani for a great soundtrack. The final lap, I guess, kind of adds difficulty because all the dinosaur bones come alive and you can get eaten by it, and also the boats. And that especially the final lap does bring up the difficulty of, like, hazards to avoid. But I wouldn't say it does it enough to make it be, like, on the difficulty of, like, say, yeah, you know, Apollos or Colorful Mall. I want to say it's probably semi-easy, because the first lap you do on that track, or second lap if it's the CrossWorld, it's pretty tame, honestly, because nothing's really attacking you yet. It's just the final lap, pretty much, that cranks it up. So it would be an easy one, but the final lap does crank it up to semi-easy, but nothing too much, because they are pretty avoidable. It's more like I said, a high risk, high reward if you want to get, like, take the shortcut or get, like, extra rings, you know, the 100 rings by some and the boats and that, and the cars as well. Plus there was a good shortcut, steep shortcut you can take. So I'm gonna put that semi-easy, mainly like I said because of the final lap. Crystal Mine, that one's pretty easy. That one's pretty tame, surprisingly. Apart from maybe the first deep 2 corners you gotta take at the beginning of the track, but apart from that, the rest is pretty straightforward. And you can really take advantage of cutting corners a bit, especially if you have the boost wisp or like anything speeding wise. Because I don't think anyone really goes like the far end corners. Like, yes, you could probably get more rings and definitely get an item for that, but I don't think it's really worth it just to gain the extra distance advantage pretty much. So I want to say that's easy. It's definitely one of the easier tracks. I'm gonna swap that around. Yeah, there we go. Ocean View coming back again after 2 entries from Transform and Team Sonic Racing. This version of it is actually pretty, I want to say tame, because there is like a few shortcuts you can take, especially the one about halfway is a kind of another risk reward. Like if you get on it and you stay on it, you can get pretty far ahead of it, but if you miss it and you fall off, then that takes you back to the pack pretty much. The big spiral, as you can see here, you start off drifting pretty well, but then you'll notice you'll probably start going to the side unless you let go of the acceleration. So that one kind of teaches you to make sure you can let go of the acceleration. I think that's a really important tip to take when racing. I want to say it's probably just semi-easy. Definitely, yeah, more semi-easy than that. It's close to being average, but I think it just misses out on being on the average difficulty stage. Mainly because of that one shortcut that everyone can take, especially if you're handling, you'll easily take it, but the rest you might have difficulty. You kind of have to plan ahead, or like keep playing it just to see what position you need to just start drifting and turning pretty much. Pumpkin Mansion, this is definitely one of the harder ones. At least for me, I struggled a bit to understand where I need to go with this one because there's a lot of turns in this one. Pretty much everywhere from like the beginning, the middle, and then the end part. A lot of drifting and turning, and definitely multiple chances where you can get off track, pretty much. Yeah, I want to say this is a semi-hard stage. Mainly, like I said, because of the drifting and that. Especially if you're doing supersonic speed, definitely you gotta like readjust when to start drifting and that. Especially because of the faster speed and then on that. Probably, I'm gonna put it above Sand Road there. Urban Canyon, this one's an easy track. It's a tame, fun, straightforward track. Surprisingly, like the only thing if you want pretty much is the final lap where they allow you to go on the off track on the red thing. It doesn't slow you down, but then you're pretty much, when you're drifting, you're pretty much going to crash, unless you time it pretty well, going to crash into the side of the wall there, which, you know, you can get ahead, but only temporarily, and then you'll probably fall behind a little bit because you crash into the wall. But apart from that, I can't really think of a reason why it would be a difficult stage. I want to say that's easy. Definitely a little bit harder than East Aim, just a tiny bit. Like, it's pretty much, you could probably swap between East Stadium and Urban Canyon, but I'm going to put Urban Canyon ahead of East Stadium just by a tiny bit. Market Street, coming back from Team Sonic Racing in a shorter condensed version. That one's pretty straightforward. I know there's a path where you can get onto at the beginning of the far right path to get onto the left side of the track where it's like higher than the normal track, but if you have a speed item, especially on the final lab, which leads to like a shortcut portal, if you have that, you can just do that on the grass and then do a trick to the left. If you want to play it safe, that will get you there, and you take the shortcut. It's like not much of a shortcut, it's like a tiny bit, so it's very situational. If you want to try, if you're like coming second or third and trying to get ahead, it'll bring you closer. And I mean, if you're first place and you take the shortcut, it just extends your length, like your lead, just like a little bit from the rest of the pack. But apart from that, it's nothing too difficult either. There's like little kind of wavy roads near the end, but that's nothing too hectic. I want to say this is an easy track because there's like multiple options you can do to like get like especially in the final lap. I want to put it probably a little bit, yeah, higher than East Stadium. Honestly, Urban Canyon and Market Street are pretty much neck and neck. Coral Town, definitely what they said with Watch Mojo, they definitely said that a lot of tracks like turnings, there's like a lot of options to take different pathways, but it's like deep turns you gotta do, which I can agree. I don't think it's semi-hard. I think it's definitely average. It's probably like on the edge of being semi-hard, but it just misses out because I think it's, like I said, for me, it just pretty much, I always take the one path again, which is like the right path. Not saying it's the right path that you should always take, but you know, the right path of the track. Kind of have to go there. And yeah, I don't really much to say about this one. This one's definitely an average track. I guess maybe, yeah, just trying to maintain your items if you want to try not get hit. Yeah, I want to say it's an average track. It just doesn't, it misses out on being a semi-hard track, but I think it's a solid, decent track to race against on. Alright, next up we've got Blizzard Valley. Definitely, yeah, we don't need to discuss much about it. Like I said, it's just the ice physics and the drifting where you're most likely gonna, even if you get good at drifting, you're gonna like get knocked off or like by the, you know, CPU, online racer, or just anything pretty much. If you fall off the offbeat, you're gonna like lose so much of that speed you probably build up for. A lot of drifting, especially in the ice, really at the beginning and near the end. But yeah, definitely one of the hardest track in the game, definitely. Radical Highway. Like I said, I disagree with what Mojo had to say about this one. Like, I don't think it's definitely not super easy. It's a straightforward track, pretty much. Definitely a semi-easy track. Yeah, like I said, just like, it has open sections where you're not bumping into as much, so maybe it is easy now I'm thinking about it. I don't know. Definitely not the easiest track, definitely. Ooh, what do I want? I don't want, yeah, probably not semi-easy. Let's put it, you know what, let's put it here in front of Water Palace, just to be safe for now. Chow Park. Pretty much baby park from Mario Kart, let's be honest, but you know, more fun. Chow Park, that one has a few sections where it can be a bit difficult, especially like one of the parts where like after the little, you do the trick jumping, there's like a little ledge thingy, and then if you start drifting, you have to drift, otherwise you will fall off the edge. From what I found, if you're already drifting before that part where you do the trick, it's easier to avoid easily. But if you're like gonna start drifting as soon as you land, you're most likely gonna drift off unless you got handling pretty well. I also gonna put it higher because it's pretty much, especially in the final lap, especially when you get to the water section, there's really not much any items you can get apart from like the, you know, the one that gives you free gloves, or you know, the blue one pretty much. So if you get hit pretty much during the water section in the last turn, you're really not gonna have a chance to catch up unless you get really lucky. That's pretty much where I would put it up high to semi-hard, but just scrapping in because you got nothing to gain pretty much in the final lap. Also, there was a lot of, going back to the track now, thinking about it, there was a lot of, I don't want to say narrow paths, but like ways that you have to dodge, otherwise you will collide into like obstacles or hazards pretty much, and then there were some narrow paths as well. So I want to put that on the semi-hard. Like, it just scrapes in because of that, but I don't think it's definitely one of the obvious harder tracks. I think it's surprisingly a bit of a challenge to it. I think that's what a lot of people, I would assume. I think it's just like it gets away with it pretty well, honestly, to be honest. Dumper Factory, definitely one of the harder tracks, as Watch Mojo described, especially like taking the shortcuts. Like, they made the shortcuts pretty much situational, where if you get it, you'll have a bit of advantage to like stay in at least the top 3 spots, especially in online. Definitely semi-hard. I want to say it's definitely harder than Chow Park and maybe Sand Road. Definitely probably harder than Pumpkin Mansion now. Is it harder than Mystic Jungle? I want to say Mystic Jungle's just harder. But Dumper Factory, definitely, there was a lot of off-road that you have to avoid, and then like a lot of drifting and stuff like that. There's definitely lots of ways to like take the shortcuts, but it's really much, if you get it, you will be rewarded pretty well. But if you don't get it, or if you stuff up on it, it punishes you badly, really badly. But apart from that, it is still a fun track. I really like it a lot. Okay, this one. Aqua Forest, that's it. Like I said, it was pretty much the beginning part where if you get bumped off, it takes you right back to the end of the pack pretty much in online racing. And then there's like yes, there's a lot of water drifting you have to do, but if you take the shortcuts while you're doing the water drifting, you'll pretty much don't have to drift as much. There's like the big turn of it. But like I said, pretty much the beginning part, that's more like luck. It's kind of like luck if you get bumped off or not. So, and like I said, at my experience, it's 6 out of 10 times it's happened to me online. I want to put that, I don't think that makes it hard though. I think it's just like unlucky. Bit of luck there. That happens to you. And then like, yeah, drifting's not too hard. Pretty much, this is one of the ender tracks too, so if you haven't really mastered it by then you're really going to struggle, but you should by then at least gotten better at drifting. So I want to say this is an average track. I want to say definitely harder than Apodos. I'm going to put it behind Coral Town just for now, because I think that one's more, you got to like learn the track a bit more, where this one, it gives you options to like take the shortcuts, pretty much. X-Men Expo. Pretty much the last proper track of the game, excluding the Secret Grand Prix. And you would think this will be the hardest, but surprisingly, it's not. Surprisingly, you would think it would be, but Domper Factory is definitely harder here than it is X-Men Expo, and this is the last race of the Eggman Cup, pretty much. It's not even that hard. There's like, yes, there's lots of turns, deep turns you gotta do, and then the only difficult bit will probably be like the last water section where you gotta like do tight drifts in the pipeway, which is kind of like, I think it's supposed to be a reference to Chemical Plant from Generations, or Chemical Plant in general, pretty much. But even then, you can like do like good tricks without bumping into the wall. So I wouldn't say it's hard. I want to say it's definitely the average. I'm gonna put it above Colorful Mall, maybe Apodos. I'm just trying to rethink now. It's pretty much, I'm rethinking this as I go along now. I think we're good there. I think I'm going to put it here, in front of Apodos. Because Apodos it's a short stage too, going back to Apodos. It is a short track, so you shouldn't have too much difficulty with it. Kronos Island is pretty straightforward. Sort of linear path, but at least you're like doing lots of driving around through the Kronos Island, going around the towers, driving on squids, trail path, avoiding the Zuras. It's not even that hard. Like you got the infamous final shortcut pretty much right at the end, where if you don't take it, you got to do like a big detour around, which is pretty deep. And you would think, oh, shortcut, I got to take the boost wisp pretty much because it's off terrain. But honestly, because the way the shortcut ends, it leads to like the boost pads, which if you lose the speed anyway, you're gonna gain speed instantly. So you don't even need the boost pad, the boost wisp, sorry, to like take the shortcut. You can just take it. Yes, you will slow down temporarily, but you're gonna be hitting into the boost pads anyway, which you can still win, which I've done pretty a lot of, like, especially the final lab where you got the I'm Here remix playing, which pretty much makes me lock in, and then I win majority of the time when I'm not even in the top 3. It's a great comeback music track, and it's really satisfying to come first in that one. I don't think it's not even a hard track. I want to say there's like lots of turns you gotta do, but then even if you do fall off the track of the squid path, there's like alternative ways to like catch up. So I don't think it's even that hard. I'm probably gonna put it at the end of semi-easy, probably because you can fall off the track, but like only in one instance. So, but honestly, it's mainly gonna be like this, realistically. But I'm just gonna put it here for now. Then we've got North Star Islands. Interesting appearance. I did not think they were going to do a Superstars representation, but they actually did one, and they did a cool thing where they kind of did like multiple zones into one big track, which I kind of like. This one's a pretty straightforward one. Like a few turns and drifting, but nothing too hectic. It's pretty easy, honestly. Like I think compared to Kronos Island, this one's a bit more fun. I actually enjoy more Kronos Island a bit more than North Star Islands from Superstars. So I'm gonna put you around. Where should I put you? Maybe above. Yeah, I'm gonna put you above E Stadium pretty much. And then we've got White Space from Shadow Generations. I'm surprised that Watch Mojo put this on a difficult path because they said they get hit into the fucking gun machines and that, and I'm like, that's easily avoidable. I'm going to pop the opposite. They're saying hard. I'm saying this is an easy track. Absolutely. Yes, it's water drifting, but that's nothing too, terrible or anything. I had more fun of this one than fucking North Star Island, so yeah, we're gonna put it there for now. Now we've done all that, we're up to the CrossWorlds, the 1 laps, which is gonna be interesting because I think there's some really interesting tracks here. We've got Sky Road. Sky Road does have a bit of difficulty, especially if you want to take the inner shortcuts that it offers, which you can take both of them, but I find the second one to be more challenging. That one's more, it definitely feels like it's designed for handling characters and carts. For me, I always take the first one that you can take on the technically the right side, but then when I finish that one, I stay on the main path, because after the drifting turn, it's just straightforward. You're just going straight on a linear path. But honestly, it's right on the edge. Probably just a little bit harder. I'm gonna put it, yeah, above Kronos Island. The only reason it's not above one of the museums is because one museum's final lap pretty much seals the deal of it being higher than that. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna swap there. I feel better now. Roulette Road. This one's pretty... I can see this one's being a bit harder because there was a lot of deep turns and drifting that you have to do. Because it's around the roulette table, which makes sense because it's a pretty much big circle. But the first half of it is pretty easy. There's like obstacles you can dodge easily at the beginning with the, the poker chips and that. But apart from that, it's pretty much straightforward and lots of driftings. I think it definitely puts it on semi-easy because of what I said with like lots of turning and drifting. Like if you're a handling character and you're drifting well, it's going to be like the perfect track for you pretty much. But if everyone else, you're probably going to be annoyed getting bumped. But if you know what to do, like either letting go of acceleration when you get close to hitting the wall, or you start drifting at a good spot, then you're not going to struggle with it too much. I'm definitely going to put it higher. I'm going to put it above Rainbow Garden. Kraken Bay, definitely debatable because you can avoid the barrels easily. The tentacles do add the difficulty trying to avoid it. It's just planning it if you should go that pathway and if you're going to get crushed by them or not. But the last flying section, that's pretty easy to avoid. But the middle section with the tentacles, yeah, I can definitely see why that's a struggle. But for me, I tend to always go for the barrels because it's just the easiest, safest route to take. And if the barrels are on the left side when I do the thing, I mainly focus on the left side. And most of the time it's always the barrels, but there's been a few times where it's been the Kraken, the tentacles. Definitely harder to avoid the tentacles than the barrel balls. So, that said, definitely semi-easy. Yeah, definitely harder than Roulette Road. Now I'm thinking about it, I might put Metal Harbor. Yeah, I'm going to put Metal Harbor. Yeah. Same with Ocean View, actually. Yeah. Okay, cool. Golden Temple. An interesting original track. Like, yes, there's water drifting sections, and then there's large balls that you gotta avoid, but they give you so much space that you can avoid them easily. So this is definitely an easy track. Not super easy, but definitely easier. Like, definitely one of the easier CrossWorlds tracks. I'm gonna put it above East Stadium. There we go. Yep. Alright, we got the Magma Cavern. I forgot what the name is. I hate this one. Everyone hates this one. It's very basic. It's very a linear track. And then you just gotta avoid the fire dragons. Lava dragons, I should say. Which, I feel like they got a bigger hitbox than they really need to be. Well, that's just me. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just complaining. I need to get good at it. Definitely an easy track to go through. Easy but boring. Yeah, put you there. Hidden World from Sonic Lost World. Everyone's favorite Sonic racing game, especially mine. Jokes aside, it's a very, again, another linear track, but at least this one's, I have more fun, surprisingly, for Sonic Lost World track. This one's, I will play this one a bit more, because it's linear, but then there's also obstacles you can avoid. Pretty much at the beginning and the end with the bootleg Eggman thing. Not Eggman, Pac-Man, sorry. But where do I want to put you? You're definitely easy. I mean, it's easy to avoid, pretty much. Yeah, let's put you above there. Steampunk. Another original track, which is pretty fun. I love the setting of Steampunk. It's a very fun track to like speed around against. Lot of drift turning you have to do. Multiple different ways you can go. I want to say it's not easy, but it's not average. So it's definitely a semi-easy track. Especially when you're drifting a lot. Especially in the middle section. We'll put that... I want to say you're above Metal Harbor. But just under Roulette Load because there's like a lot. There's a lot more drifting you're going to do in Roulette Load compared to Steampunk City. Dragon Road. This is a fun track, a representation of the Werehog night stages of Dragon Road of Chenan. There's a lot of drifting you have to do, and then there's like water drifting, but then the water sections are like open as well, like they're really open, so you're not going to be bumping into each other. Yes, there's like hazards you got to avoid by the Dark Gaia Phoenix, but apart from that, it's managed the drifting sections at the beginning and the front where you might struggle a bit, and then avoiding the missiles, which are pretty easy unless you get flanked by one, unfortunately. Or you're just not paying attention. Definitely a semi-easy track, but nothing too bad, honestly. Kind of want to put you above Steampunk. It's really a tie between Steampunk City and Dragon Road. I'm going to put you there. And another Unleashed stage, Holuska. Now, you would think, oh, it's another ice. There's like ice physics. So what, would this be a hard stage? There's really not much drifting you have to do on the ice in there. It's pretty linear when you're on the ice sections. Like, you're pretty much going straight, so you don't need to drift a lot. The only time you'll be drifting is maybe in the water and in the air and near the end, but it's nothing hard. Like, it's very tame with the ice physics compared to Blizzard Valley. And I guess also semi-hard with Sand Road. I don't think it's not even that hard because it's literally just a linear track. And you gotta do like a few turns near the end, but that's nothing too drastic. It's pretty much straightforward. So I'm going to say semi-easy for this one. I want to say above Rainbow Garden. A little bit. Like, it's still a visually gorgeous night track. And the music's beautiful, but I wouldn't say anything drastic. Galactic Parade. This one's pretty much of the lackluster tracks, honestly, to be honest, because even in Transformed, it was pretty much forgettable, and it's kind of forgettable here. Majority of the time, you're like driving on the Starlight Carnival's pathway road kind of thing, and then you got the egg pawn shooting at you, lasers. Pretty much easy to avoid because, I mean, I don't think you can outrace them. Maybe you can, apart from the shortcut near the end, and then you're just like avoiding asteroids at the end, which is pretty easy to avoid. I want to say it's pretty easy, but nothing completely brain dead in a way, maybe. Actually, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna put it right at the end. It's pretty easy. Disappointingly easy. Dinosaur Jungle. This one's a surprisingly fun one. They did a great job with this track. Because you got like the dinosaurs you have to avoid, which are pretty. There's a lot of them, so it's pretty hard to avoid them getting hit. And then there's many obstacles. A lot of drift turning near the end. The water section, that's pretty easy to drive through. If I have to guess, we'll probably have to go to... I want to say it's an average track. Probably one of the harder tracks of the CrossWorlds sections. Honestly, I'm going to put it above Eggman Expo because that one's not as hectic as... Actually, I'm going to... No, you know what? Nah, we're going to put you semi-hard, I reckon. Thinking about it now, it's like a lot of obstacles to avoid without getting hit or squashed by the dinosaurs, and then the narrow paths. Because it fills up the tracks, like, because they're not narrow as well, but they're pretty open, but then there's a lot of stuff happening, so it makes it hard to avoid everything unless you got like a shield or you're just good at moving everything. So it's definitely just squeezes in onto the semi-hard. Sweet Mountain. Sweet Mountain, that one's a pretty easier track. There's like half the time you're going to be drifting on the water. There's also like sections where you got to drift near the end, and then kind of like Galactic Parade, you got to avoid, instead of asteroids, you got to avoid like the cannonballs by the ship, the boss from Sweet Mountain. You're doing a lot more to there. There's like lots more that you have to do. It kind of bounces out between semi-easy and average. It's like, I'm going to put you above Metal Harbor. Yeah. Yes, we'll do that. White Cave. This one's kind of a narrow S because there's like ways to fall off easily, especially in the middle section when you go like drifting and that. Spyro moments, and then like avoiding the vines at the end after bouncing on the the flower pretty much. It can get cramped and hectic at times, so I want to say it probably just squeezes in on average above Apollo's. It's probably a bit more hectic than Wonder Museum, because Wonder Museum, the only thing that brings it up to the end of semi-easy is literally the final lap. That's really much it when things get to a bit hectic. Cyberspace. This is a really fun representation of it. And especially the remix of Flowing. Beautiful, especially with the jazz. Cyberspace, that one's pretty straightforward. There's a few tight corners you have to do, especially the one near the end. But apart from that, and then you've got, at the end, you got like, avoid all like the buses, well not buses, the trucks and cars, but they're pretty easy to avoid with this boost pads as well. And the flying section, the flying section can be a bit difficult to avoid because you've got lots of iron spike balls to avoiding damage, but then they also reward you with, you know, the rings to like gain speed and that. So I would say this is probably a semi-easy one. Probably just above Sweet Mountain, pretty much, yeah. The last of the CrossWorld tracks is Digital Dimension from Shadow the Hedgehog. This one's pretty basic. Like, there was a few narrow paths there, but it's mainly just straight paths and drifting, with lots of speed boost pads to like make it like a speedy track to go through. I wouldn't say it's average, but definitely another semi-easy track. Because it's like I said, it's mainly it's like a boosting kind of a focus orientated CrossWorld track. So I want to say we'll do in the semi-easy, but where exactly though? I reckon it's probably definitely not. It's definitely just easy. Like more than a little bit easy, but nothing up here in the semi-easy. I think I'm gonna put you above Rainbow Garden because it feels like you're getting a lot rewarded for going fast in there. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. So, it pretty much ends with there's only been really one hard track, which is Blizzard Valley, because ice physics mainly. And then we've got a few semi-hard tracks with like Mystic Jungle, Domper Factory, Pumpkin Mansion, Sand Road, Chow Park, and Dinosaur Jungle. And the rest are like average, a lot of semi-easy, and a fair few easy tracks. So, yeah, that's pretty much it overall. So, does that answer the question? Is Sonic Racing CrossWorlds hard? Honestly, not really. It's more like, it's really relies on basically on if you're good at drifting. That's pretty much where the whole basis is. If you're good at drifting and maintaining that without crashing into anything, it's really not a hard track. There's like I said, only one hard track overall that everyone's gonna have difficulty with, and pretty much everyone hates. If I have to make a general guess of the general players of the game and Sonic fans in general, pretty much. But other than that, no, not really. I don't think it's really a hard game at all, especially the tracks. They're not really that hard. It's just a lot of, it's mainly, I don't want to say skill, because there was a little bit of skill you have to get good at, especially with, again, drifting. It's probably the popular word of the day. A tiny bit of luck with online, but mainly, well, actually, no, scratch that. A lot of luck online, pretty much. But to get through the tracks without getting hit, most of the tracks, they're pretty much, you know, decent, like replayability, like lots of replayability there, and pretty much you're gonna have a good time with whatever track. Well, most of them, pretty much. Most of the time you're gonna have a fun time. So that pretty much sums up the question, pretty much. Yeah, that's all I have to say. So yeah.